Celtic Myths and Legends by T.W. Rolleston. Chapter 2. The Religion of the Celts. The Religion of Magic. And I'm pretty sure they're calling this magic because it's a different religion than Christianity or Judaism. But magic as the art and science of religion, which is the relationship with God and the created, the willful change of consciousness. Why should I say anything against that? This triple division is reflected more or less in all the Celtic countries, and must always be borne in mind when we speak of Celtic ideas and Celtic religion, and try to estimate the contribution of the Celtic peoples to European culture. The mythical literature and the art of the Celt have probably sprung mainly from the section represented by the lowland Celts, a Bertrand. But this literature of song and saga was produced by a bardic class for the pleasure and instruction of a proud, chivalrous, and warlike aristocracy, and would thus inevitably be molded by the ideas of this aristocracy. But it would also have been colored by the profound influence of the religious beliefs and observances entertained by the megalithic peoples, beliefs which are only now fading slowly in the spreading daylight of science. These beliefs may be summed up in the one term: magic. The nature of this religion of magic must now be briefly discussed, for it was a potent element in the formation of the body of myths and legends with which we have afterwards to deal, and, as Professor Bury remarked in his inaugural lecture at Cambridge in 1903, of the Common Era, of course, for the purpose of prosecuting that most difficult of all inquiries, the ethnical problem, the part played by race in the development of peoples, and the effects of race blendings, it must be remembered that the Celtic world commands one of the chief portals of ingress into that mysterious pre-Aryan foreworld, from which it may be that we modern Europeans have inherited far more than we dream. The ultimate root of the word magic is unknown, but proximately it is derived from the Magi, our priest of Chaldea and Media in pre-Aryan and pre-Semitic times, who were the great exponents of this system of thought so strangely mingled of superstition, philosophy, and scientific observation. The fundamental conception of magic is that of the spiritual vitality of all nature. This spiritual vitality was not, as in polytheism, conceived as separate from nature in distinct divine personalities. Monotheism, polytheism, there's different views. It was implicit and immanent in nature, obscure, undefined, invested with all this awfulness of a power whose limits and nature are enveloped in the impenetrable mystery. In its remote origin, it was doubtless, as many facts appear to show, associated with the cult of the dead, for death was looked upon as the resumption into nature, and as the investment with vague and uncontrollable powers of a spiritual force formerly embodied in the concrete, limited, manageable, and therefore less awful form of a living human personality. Yet these powers were altogether uncontrollable. The desire for control, as well as the suggestion of the means for achieving it probably arose from the first rude practices of the art of healing. Medicine of some sort was one of the earliest necessities of man, and the power of certain natural substances, mineral or vegetable, to produce bodily and mental effects, often of a most startling character, would naturally be taken as signal evidence of what we might call the magical conception of the universe. The first magicians were those who attained a special knowledge of healing or poisonous herbs, but virtue of some sort being attributed to every natural object and phenomenon, a kind of magical science, partly the child of true research, partly of poetic imagination, partly of priestcraft, would in time spring up, would be codified into rites and formulas, attached to special places and objects, and represented by symbols. The whole subject has been treated by Pliny in a remarkable passage, which deserves quotation at length. And the oldest one that I think that I've encountered as far as reference is 70,000 years ago, people were using marijuana as a healing herb. And its cultivation led to its smoking because there was now an excess of it. And yes, people have been dying of marijuana for a long time. Overdoses, I don't know if there's ever been an overdose, but it has factored. People have known for thousands of years that smoking marijuana shortens the average life. Thus, in the Greek, for makon, medicine, poison, or charm, and I am informed that the Central African word for magic or charm is mankwala, which also means medicine. Well, that's an obvious given. If we're talking about changes in consciousness, whether things are drugs or non-intoxicating substances that have whatever effect or lack of effects produce, well, that would be effect, wouldn't it? Are the symbology of such objects. Magic is the spiritual use of whatever. So the Celts being, the physical world is very much a part of their thing. It wasn't, there was no war spirit against nature.